Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Restricted Republic. My name is Justice Knight, today filling in for Lisa Haven, and they're disappearing. They're disappearing en masse. I don't know if you've seen the stories, and it's not what they're telling you. The reality is far more terrifying, far more deceptive, and far more misleading than anyone will ever report on. Now, before we get to the story, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, Lisa asked me to give a shout out to her sponsor, BioTrust. With their amazing ageless multi-collagen product right now, while supplies last, get up to 51% off. 5 types of collagen in one package. Enjoy the age-defying benefits. Right now, go to healthwithlisa.com. That's BioTrust and their ageless multi-collagen. Take advantage up to 51% off. Also, do me a huge favor. If you haven't subscribed to Lisa, just below me now, please click on the button, make sure you do, and make sure notifications are turned on. If you haven't subscribed to me, I again hope you will. My name's Justice Knight. Lisa will put a link just above. Click on it, take a few seconds, and subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, you know Lisa and I had started RestrictedRepublic.com. Coming up on 4th of July here, we're going to continue on discount code FREEDOM. 24 months for $5 a month using discount code FREEDOM at monthly checkout plus 14 days for free. Take advantage of the offer, get over to Restricted, and find out what true, unfiltered, uncensored news sounds like. Now let's get back to this story. Many of you saw this statistic, this graphic, I'm sure, but this is only a part of the story. Skyrocketing murder rates from Philadelphia to Los Angeles, rates that no one could have ever thought nor hoped would be achieved. Washington, D.C. at 35%. Portland at 800, New York City at 22. The National Fraternal Order of Police put out that statistic. Any guesses of what these cities have in common? Well, it has a lot to do with the color of the state and the defund the police movement. Now, there's a lot of statistics on this. 2020 saw unprecedented murder spike in major U.S. cities, going from Seattle all the way down to Las Vegas. But that's not the full story. It's not the full story that it saw the largest percentage increase in murders in American history. Again, not the full story. Taking stock of a most violent year, some blame the mayhem on the pandemic, but persistent cop bashing emboldened criminals. The local murder increases in 2020 were startling. 95% in Milwaukee, 78% in Louisville, Kentucky, 74% in Seattle, 72% Minneapolis, 62% New Orleans, 58% in Atlanta. Many of you should be asking what the heck is going on, to say the very minimum. So why this mayhem? The St. Louis Post-Dispatch expresses the conventional wisdom because of the economic, civil, and interpersonal stress from the coronavirus pandemic. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot blamed pandemic-related frustration, anger, trauma, and mental health challenges, but crime fell during the first months of the pandemic shutdown, both in the U.S. and globally. Many don't know that. Only at the end of May did the trend reverse itself, and only in the U.S. So that has to have you asking why. What changed? What went on? Only in the U.S. That is key to this story of what drove the historically large murder spike in 2020. The pandemic, police violence, more guns, all contributed, as The Intercept says, to this unprecedented rise in murder rate, but not so fast. The death toll rises in America's cities because of progressive, racist ideas. Is that a potential? Mark Lamont Hill, winner of this week's prize for judging people by the color of their skin. You see, there's a divide occurring in the United States, many of you are aware of. But what have we moved away from before we get back to Mark Lamont? There's just one example of what's occurring in the world around us. Because the first church understood the first thing, the body was more important than the individual. Confession was more important than their complaints. Unity was more important than diversity. They sold what they had and gave it to others, not because they were socialists, but because of their Savior. They didn't give up their wealth because they thought everyone deserved their fair share. They gave all they had because they knew that no one, themselves included, deserved anything. Those thoughts, those fundamental thoughts, long gone in today's culture. Bottom line, the first century church changed the world not by focusing on color, but by rather focusing on character. Their own, and more importantly, of that of Christ. They knew it was about their sin and not the system. And as a result, people like a Pharisee named Saul started loving people rather than killing them. Pundits like Mark Lamont, coming full circle now, do greater harm than good. Their ideas have consequences. Consequences we're seeing surface within those new percentages. However, even those percentages are very deceptive. Mark Lamont confronts race theory critic. Name something you like about being white, he asked. If you don't believe me, hear it here for yourself.
So let me ask you a quick question first. Do you identify as white?
I'm an Italian American, so you tell me.
The American Racial Project is what puts you in the same boat as a Russian or a Polish person, because you all are white, and whiteness becomes this thing that is a marker of power, right? But that's what whiteness studies is about. It's about outing your whiteness. You can say you're not white. You can pretend you're not white. I'm not saying you're doing that, but the world still treats you as white. And if I were to say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white? What would you say?
It's astounding. It's astounding, this divide that's being created. The question asked on the other foot would be racist immediately. Mark Lamont's had his issues, obviously. Mark Lamont Hill fired from CNN after his speech on Israel draws outrage. But that's what's causing a lot of the dissension that we are now feeling in the United States, this divide tactic. Philadelphia homicides up 50% so far in 2021. So it's not stopping. It's accelerating. Can the politics of police reform survive the crime rates of our pandemic year? Nearly $1 billion shifted from police and budget that pleases no one. Minneapolis City Council votes to remove $8 million from police budget. Murders surge as police are defunded. Up 64% in Minneapolis, headline reads. St. Louis murder rate soaring. Mayor announces plan to defund the police. Doesn't appear that's working. Mayor Lightfoot, we don't need federal troops. We need gun control. But you already have levels of gun control, and it's simply not working. 28 shot Friday into Monday morning, it's a headline you could read over and over when it comes to Lori Lightfoot, Chicago. Chicago sees 51 homicides in January, highest in 4 years. So what's breaking? What's happening? Because obviously defund the police and stricter gun laws aren't working. It's not meeting with the result that they expected. Lawmakers vote to cut $15 million, but they don't stop the onslaught of defund the police. It's almost as if they're asking for lawlessness. DC homicide rate already is outpacing 2020, which saw a 16-year high. North Carolina reducing budget. Maybe it's in the statistics, though, because many have heard in mainstream media everywhere, number of mass shootings in the United States between 1982 and May 2021 by shooters' race or ethnicity. Once again, they categorize everything by race or ethnicity, which I simply don't agree with. Never have and never will. But let's get the statistics a little bit more accurate, because they opened up the statistic range from 1982 to 2021, and it shows white males, 66, committing the most mass shootings. That's the storyline you've heard. You've heard all the propagated storylines around that, vilifying white males. New statistics on mass shootings are out, and we'll start at 2019 to see the statistics, if they've stayed the same or not. And it has white at 30 for 2019 at 14%, Latino at 14%, Asian at 4%, Black at 68%. Maybe that's an anomaly. We'll go to 2020. And we have white mass murder, 22 at 14%, Asian at 0, Latino at 14%, Black at 73%. That's 2020. We'll go to 2021 now. See if this trend has changed. White, 12%, Asian, 0%, Latino, 15%, Black, 72%. So when we frame up statistics, it's very important the timeline is put into place. Something has changed, a paradigm shift from this 1982 to 2021 graphic to the ones I just showed you. A fundamental paradigm shift. 51% of mass shooters in 2019 were black. Only 29% were white, just to revalidate the evidence. It matters not which race it is. It matters there's been now a fundamental shift from the way things were to the way things are. So is any of these movements working? Is defund the police working? Louisville police are fed up. It's not working unless the objective was to remove the police. They're fed up. Mass exodus begins. Seattle. Crime wave fears in Seattle as it reveals 200 cops, 20% of its force, quit in the last 16 months. Let's keep going. Cops quitting at unprecedented numbers in Portland. Can you blame them with what they're facing? Police officers across the U.S. have quit their jobs in recent days. Here's where there have been resignations. But that's not enough, because now, in response, they may be getting exactly what they were looking for. They're going to stop going after certain crimes. Liberal city defunds the police. Department releases a list of crimes cops will no longer respond to. You ready for this? It's dumbfounding when you read this and you find out what's going on. I'll get out of the way real quick. In this example, in North Carolina, thefts under $1,000, where there's no suspect information, we're not going to do anything about. Theft from a vehicle where there's no suspect information, we're not going to do anything about. Minimal damage or graffiti, we'll let that go. Non-life-threatening, harassing phone calls, we're letting that go. Fraud, scams, identity theft, that's fine. Who cares about your credit, your livelihood? Simple assaults that are reported after they've occurred, we're not going to touch those either. Reports that do not have immediate police actions and or enforcement information, not going to touch it. Trespassing where the property owner does not want to press charges, we're out of here. Boy, we're living in a much different world now, aren't we? It appears from a little review of statistics, a few looks at a map, a few reading of just a couple articles, and everything starts to take shape, doesn't it? While thousands of police officers are giving up their post under the continual onslaught of people wishing to defund them when they are simply trying to protect us, and they're not all good. But guess what? That's the same with race, ethnicity, religion. Not everybody. Within any one division, the fact that good people are good and bad people are bad. And that's not contingent on color. That's not contingent on religion. That's not contingent on job or race or ethnicity or anything else you want to throw in the mix. And until we fundamentally realize that again, we're going to continue down this train track towards disaster. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Thank you for allowing me to bend your ear, present you the correct look at this issue that nobody else will anymore because everybody's afraid to. But nonetheless, it's fundamentally factual. And that's what we base everything on here at Restricted Republic. Again, I hope if you haven't subscribed to Lisa, you will. I hope if you haven't subscribed to me, you will. I hope you get over to Restricted Republic and find a new home for your unfiltered and uncensored news. Can't thank you enough. Again, for giving me a few minutes of your time. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Just this night, signing out.